Views, Mondays starting at noon, here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Presented by the Foundation Protecting Our Outdoors Heritage. Listen or watch the show anywhere you get SuperTalk Mississippi.
And now, it's Coast Vue with Ricky Matthews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota and AGJ Systems and Networks on SuperTalk 103.1 FM.
Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that celebrates here in coastal Mississippi the people who are making this place such an amazing place to live, work, and play. And I want to say Happy New Year to you. We had a great show yesterday with Delbert Hosemann, the Lieutenant Governor of the state of Mississippi, and as we discussed, and as the Speaker of the House, Philip Gunn, and I discussed a couple of weeks ago, this legislative session is shaping up to be one of the most profound, one of the most transformational sessions ever. They have so many incredible issues to deal with, not the least of which is a bill that's going to be before them, or at least an effort before them, involving the healthcare industry. But anyway, they've got a lot to say grace over. I couldn't think of a better second, or actually third guest, because we also had Ryan Miller from the Office of Workforce Development on yesterday as well, than Lee Bond. And we're going to spend the whole show today with Lee Bond, the CEO of Singing River Health Systems, someone who's been a great friend of the show and has been incredibly passionate about the challenges the healthcare system has had to face throughout the pandemic. And so we're going to cover the waterfront today. But anyway, without any further ado, Lee, thank you for joining me today on Coast Vue.
Happy to be here.
Okay. Let's just take all these issues aside for a second. And let me first of all just say congratulations to you and your hospitals for your incredible grades recently, man. Even through the pandemic, you guys have stayed focused on excellence. Tell me more about what that's all about.
So we have. I could not be more proud and humble at the same time about what our team has accomplished. To get that A rating, there's a 28-point algorithm, everything from surgical site infections, hospital-acquired conditions, cleanliness, service scores. They had all of that up, and to be able to get an A, and I don't know, we have not found another health system that has 3 hospitals where all 3 got an A. The work and the dedication of every person, from environmental services to nursing to just the whole team contributed to that. So it's absolutely humbling and exciting at the same time for us to have that. It's the pinnacle of what you want when you focus on quality. And so now we got to maintain it and stay there, stay at the top. But I honestly could not say enough about every individual, whether it's a surgical tech or a med-surg nurse or tech. It takes every single one of our 3,500 people to contribute to get to that A level rating.
Well, what adds even more to this, as I mentioned, obviously the pandemic going on, when you've had to deal with professional medical personnel shortages, particularly around nurses. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show, but you did the acquisition of Garden Park during all of this and have sort of, assimilated that into your company and to your culture. Look, that's not easy to do. I mean, I've been in the acquisition business before. It's hard to meld cultures and processes together in the way that you guys did it in such a short period of time. How were you able to do that?
So we made the decision to invest in that before anybody knew what COVID was. In fairness, had we known in the middle of the pandemic, we might have not made a better decision. But I think divine providence, God had a plan, I guess, and said, get that lined out. And then here comes COVID. So it has been difficult to integrate that during COVID, but it also fits with all of our initial reason for doing it. That property already was contributed 16% of our cardiac care. Our leading service line was generated in part from that North Gulfport area. So there were a million reasons to do it that made sense for the long-term stability of our health system. And it just really took a lot of people stretching, Ricky. I had people, I can't tell you, there's probably 50 people who just absorbed managerial duties for that property in order to make this work for the greater good. I'm beyond blessed to work with a team of selfless people that really believe in, our mission and what we're trying to accomplish. And it kind of goes back to that culture, that A rating. And it's taken a while to really build that. As you know, I came from the gaming and hospitality business, and it's amazing to me in America how hotels are often better at service than hospitals. It should be the other way around. You know, people in hospitals need the most love and care than anybody. And so we've tried to create a culture where, you know, we do things like we say we treat our patients like guests, and we really make them feel like they're at home while we take care of them. That's been a big part of our culture change. And we've actually, the folks that were the core group that we kept at Gulfport were very excited, and they embraced that with open arms. So it's been difficult and it's been easy at the same time, depending on which strata you're looking at. But it's coming along great. They're doing really well over there, and we're really happy with the team in Gulfport.
One other, I'm going to come back to a comment about you here specifically, but before we move away from that acquisition, the collaboration, the partnership you developed with Ochsner in New Orleans has really turned out to be a good one, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. And while we have focused it more on Gulfport, that's a system-wide partnership. They've helped us more in Gulfport to get that going, but we talked to many companies. We talked to several large national companies and academic institutions, and Ochsner was the most aligned with us in culture of putting that patient in number one spot, of having a pinnacle of quality. So it just really fit together, us and them. I tell them it's like Reese's peanut, it's like chocolate and peanut butter. You know, we just go together. And so we are better and stronger together. And you'll see us do more in Jackson County with the co-branding and things over time, because that partnership continues to thrive and grow. We couldn't be more happy. It's not been easy during the pandemic. You know, we got distracted a lot. Normal things and progress we would make got put off because we had to focus on coronavirus, unfortunately, but we still made a lot of progress. We've implemented their digital health tools for our employees, just as one example, and our employees are now in their network, and that helps them. So it's been a real benefit to all three hospitals for sure.
It's a real strategic partnership, and as you and I have talked about before, some people are under the mistaken conclusion that Ochsner actually bought Singing River Health System. So clear that up once again.
Yeah, so they have I think I'd be the first to know if they wanted to buy us. That is not their interest. They're a private not-for-profit. We're a governmental not-for-profit. So their goal was they want to be associated with like-branded, people that can help, their good name and our good name together are ring the bell of quality. And so that is why they wanted to be aligned with us. And we already shared it. They helped us with other things in the purchasing front and things like that. So we already had built some relationship, but they have no real interest in acquisition of any sort. They just want to see us thrive together. And it helps with throughput. Nothing against Jackson, but I love my whole state. But this is an East-West community. And New Orleans, if somebody needs a transplant, trying to find someplace in the country, in Birmingham or Jacksonville or Ohio or wherever to send them, we've got one of the best transplant centers that's an hour away. And so it just made natural sense. And that's the reason for the partnership. There's no underlying motive to buy us. I mean, I imagine if, let's say things got worse and Mississippi continues to struggle worse than other states, would they be able to help us more and in a bigger way? Maybe, but that's not the intent of the partnership.
Yeah, I had the opportunity. Obviously, I'm not going to mention any names, but I have a very, very close friend who had a heart procedure at Ochsner and came to the coast. And while he was here, experienced some bleeding. And long story short, he went to the Gulfport Singing River location. They immediately went in there and did some whatever minor surgery was necessary in order to stop the bleeding. But the fact that they had this partnership with Ochsner made the communication so clear and seamless. And that's the way you expect it to be, isn't it?
Exactly. We share a medical record that is the top in the country called Epic. It is the number one. It's the Microsoft Word, Excel language of healthcare records. And Ochsner's on it too. Yet another reason we thought the partnership was natural. So for that patient in particular, they were able to immediately pull up his records from Ochsner, and within minutes were able to know exactly what the situation was and what they needed to do. And it was a really good story of how working together on one platform can benefit patients who are, migrate along the coast from Mississippi to Louisiana.
And I can tell you what he said to me was he was literally blown away, how quickly he was able to go in because of the records being in place. As you pointed out, they didn't have to spend a lot of time. I mean, they were able to go in there pretty quickly, find the source of the bleeding and stop it. And, he was back out in a relatively short period of time, but that's what you want. That's what you want to be able to say.
That's our goal for everyone. And not just the record, but there's the physicians who were involved in that case went the extra mile. They are phenomenal. Dr. Plott and Dr. Roth and some others that made all that happen. I'd like to try to say we want that every single patient who comes in the door to have that type of a incredible good experience. That's our objective with every single one.
Absolutely, 100%. We're visiting with Lee Bond, the CEO of Singing River Health Systems. When we come back, we're gonna continue to sort of lay some groundwork about how the hospital got to where it is today, this incredible A-grade status they're in the midst of the pandemic, and how Lee brought very unique qualities, very unique skill sets to the table to help the hospital get through some very difficult financial times.
Coast Vue on SuperTalk 103.1 is brought to you by J. Allen Toyota on I-10 exit 38 Gulfport. See all the incredible inventory at allentoyota.com. And remember, when you think Toyota, think J. Allen Toyota.
Hey, South Mississippi, Jonathan Allen here at J. Allen Toyota, I-10 exit 38 right here in Gulfport, letting you know Toyotathon is on. We have more inventory right now than we've had all year, and we've got a lot more coming. Come see our team and pick out the one that works for you. So think J. Allen Toyotathon.
When it comes to the outdoors, we are one. We live in one of the best places in America to enjoy the great outdoors. So let's talk about it. Super Talk Outdoors with Ricky Matthews, Mondays starting at noon, here on Super Talk Mississippi. Presented by the Foundation Protecting Our Outdoors Heritage. Listen or watch the show anywhere you get Super Talk Mississippi. If Alexa's part of your life, you've got one more way to access SuperTalk. SuperTalk Mississippi is now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Once enabled, just say, Alexa, play SuperTalk Mississippi at any time and start listening. It's that easy. Just one more way to stay informed and connected with your state. Learn more at supertalk.fm/Alexa. SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi. Now available on Amazon Alexa devices.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
Super Talk Mississippi.
From outer space, visitors from another world. We've had contact with bug-eyed monsters.
This is actually a flying saucer.
Flying saucer?
I'm from another planet.
Where late nights are kind of weird.
Well, they must have a reason for their visits.
The unexplained, the weird, and the downright creepy. Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. Late nights. Super Talk Mississippi. Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on Super Talk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View and Happy New Year to you. Second show of the year, and really couldn't pick a better guest than Lee Bond, the Chief Executive Officer for Singing River Health System. He's not only been incredibly active in the community and the medical community across the state of Mississippi, but he's been a terrific CEO. And I wanted to come back and just reflect on one thing, Lee. We've talked about this before, but I actually wonder about this. How often do you look back now at when you first came to the hospital? Because you'd been in the gaming industry, sort of have a financial and accounting background. You know how that part of a business works. But you also have a heart, and you have the ability to build a strong culture, and you understand what that looks like, and you've had a lot of success doing that. You come into Singing River Health Systems at a time when they really were trying to recover from just an incredibly difficult financial situation. How much do you look back on it to say, okay, this is where we were when I came here, and this is where we are today? And how do you reflect on that?
Yeah. Well, so actually, you don't have much time to look back these days. We're all working so darn hard. It's tough to look back, but I certainly do have interactions that make me reflect back on it. And actually, when I got here, I went back to what I thought was going to be a little easier, roll back to my finance roots, after being in sort of in operations in the gaming hospitality business, and was there as and part of the uncovering of, the accounts receivable issues, the pension non-funding, and all of that. So unfortunately, I lived through every bit of the bad. And I tell people that, I think I came here to kind of step back to my finance roots, but little did I know that God's plan was to take what I had learned in the service and hospitality industry. I think and operationally, those types of things are what helped me, I think, the most. And then, of course, it's all about the team, being able to put together, I've got such a fantastic team of leaders and frontline people that are just phenomenal. Many of whom have, came from my old industry. Our environmental services, for example, as a person who I worked with for 20 years, and I just was shocked that hospitals didn't have, most of them farm it out, or they outsource it, and we brought it in house, and he just brought it to this new level of cleanest hospital in the world. And little things like that are what helped me the most, people. And so I do look back sometimes and would like to hope that better days are ahead, because we have been through so much. We've been through the AR, the pension, we've been through a cyber attack. We've been through, other lawsuit challenges, and then 3 waves of COVID. It's been tough, but I know that if we keep working hard and keep our nose to the grindstone, we'll get to a better place eventually. I have no doubt.
Yes, you're interested, and I didn't think about this so literally just now, but you said so many of your team came from the gaming and hospitality industry, and think about Shannon, who I was instrumental in helping to attract to the Sun Herald from the Hard Rock. And then she went on to become publisher of the Sun Herald, and then she's on your team these days. But she's been a good ad for you, hasn't she?
Absolutely. When we did the turnaround back, and again, that's another component. I mean, it was the place we were losing, $30 million a year when I first got here, and they didn't even know it. And part of our turnaround plan was expense control, of course, focused on labor efficiency, growing revenue. But the third prong was actually marketing. We had some good core medical areas that we just needed to build on. And she's helped us really take those to another level, because people need to know that we've got these great things, a Joint Commission accredited hospice, a Blue Distinction Center of Excellence, all these things that were underlying that people didn't know about. She certainly helped do that. And then, there's others like her. I've got one of our best analysts. Again, it was a weakness at Singing River, was the financial area. Now it's considered a strength because of good analysis. So people like that God has put in my life to help us. I couldn't be more blessed to have folks like that around us to help us. And that's why I know that even though we've probably got some more tough days right around the corner, I know that we're going to make it for the long term, and we're going to thrive, not just survive.
Lee, I used to say this when I went into a company, and I had the opportunity to have responsibility for multiple companies later in my career. I wanted to meet the CFO. I wanted to see if I was in sync with the CFOs. I wanted to make sure I was in sync with the director of human resources. And then I wanted to understand sort of what the marketing piece was. If I had good relationships with those three, we could just about do anything. And I know you know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. I like to think our human resources like none other. Our HR, she's like none I've ever worked with. The work ethic is tremendous. You'll see, how often do you see an HR person, an HR director working on the weekends and holidays, fighting for the frontline people? It's actually incredible to witness. We should probably do like a documentary on some of these folks.
It's you know what, buddy? It's speaking specifically about HR these days. Wow, because they're so focused on retention, they're so focused on all of these challenges. I mean, this constant flow of hopefully an increasing number of people who are applying to get jobs. I know that's still a challenge, but it's a tough job, isn't it?
It's tough. It's very tough right now. We're in a world where, forgive me for saying this, the government has printed so much money that it has created where folks don't want to work like they used to. And it's causing so many issues, not just the labor force shortage, but I'm concerned about, people ask me if I'm concerned about Omicron. Yeah, sure. But first concern is inflation and the labor shortage that we are experiencing as a world and in every area. We've got to get this country back to thinking that a work ethic is a good thing.
Yeah, let's go ahead and go there now since you brought it up. It's interesting now that Delta has really taken the northern states by storm now, and of course then Omicron's coming back. We'll get to Omicron here in just a second, but you're hearing about overwhelmed nurses, overwhelmed ICUs in the northern states. You're hearing about nursing shortages, et cetera. This has been a constant refrain down here that this is an issue. The issue of traveling nurses getting paid more than nurses that are actually employees, and the whole retention issue and all of that. It seems to me, though, the problem in America and the state as well, because I talked about it with the speaker, I talked about it with the lieutenant governor, that there are just so many competing priorities. I mean, it's unbelievable. I don't think we've ever been in a moment in our history with so many competing priorities. But at the same time, we've got the money. We've got the money more than we've ever, over $1 million in the bank. All this, billions of dollars to be able to implement. And I know they will probably pass a bill that's going to address some type of bonus for nurses, but it's not going to be enough, at least based on what it looks like today.
No, our concern, Ricky, is it's easy to say, oh, we're going to do something for the nurses, $50 million. Well, you divide that among 46,000 nurses, and you also give it to all the other frontline caregivers, techs, and people in respiratory therapy and radiology and everywhere else. It's $400 or $500 a person. That's not going to make people stay in Mississippi. We got to do the thing that is hard, that is politically hard. We have a bona fide RN catastrophe in Mississippi. We are disproportionately affected to other states. And like it or not, controversial issue, Medicaid expansion. Louisiana, my friends in Louisiana kind of get a chuckle. They say, we've got $1 billion a year in our state that you don't have. And so it's easier for us. When Mississippi's in a worse spot. I heard the speaker talking about the income tax. He's right. Texas and Florida, they don't have an income tax, and they're richer states. And guess what? It's easier for them to pay more. Mississippi is also the unhealthiest state, the least educated state. You add all of that up, and it's probably the hardest state for us to get where we need to be with RNs. And I worry that the world does not understand where we might be in 2 years with the continued RN exodus. With this, if we have another big wave with either with Delta or Omicron, either one, which very possible that happens. My concern is not those. My concern is not having nurses throughout the state of Mississippi. I mean, we're gonna make it at Singing River. We've got, thank God for people like I was just talking a story this morning about Bobby Ann Sisson and Blakeney and all these other nurses who just love it. They're going to stay no matter what, but they are not the norm. And there are places in Mississippi where Nurses can just drive an hour across the border in Mobile from Pascagoula, and they can make more money because these other states have more money. And so it's a huge problem that we've got the money to fix. I don't think we have enough water and sewer infrastructure to go across all the wetlands we've got to spend that $1.8 billion. We need $400 million of that $1.8 billion. Just 25% of it, actually closer to 20% of it, would be enough to give every RN $20,000 retention bonus, build a 2-year bridge while we work on the longer-term solution of workforce development. It's the solution. It's the only solution. If we don't do it, we're going to have a catastrophe in the state of Mississippi. We're not going to be able to attract anybody to the central and northern parts of the state for sure.
Yeah, we're in a moment in this state with so many competing objectives.
Yeah.
It's going to be a super.
Well, I love policemen. I love teachers. I love all of those people. But you have a stroke or you have a heart attack, you must have an RN to be able to help save you. And we are neglecting the RNs in this state right now.
We're going to continue this conversation when we come back on the other side with Lee Bond from Singer River Health System. We'll see you after this break.
When it comes to the outdoors, we are one. We live in one of the best places in America to enjoy the great outdoors. So let's talk about it. Super Talk Outdoors with Ricky Matthews. Mondays starting at noon. Here on Super Talk, Mississippi. Presented by the Foundation Protecting Our Outdoors Heritage. Listen or watch the show anywhere you get Super Talk, Mississippi.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back. Now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Check us out. The new Bob 106.3.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on Super Talk, Mississippi, and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Merry Christmas, South Mississippi. It is Toyotathon time here at J. Allen Toyota, I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport. You see this halo right up here that says the tradition continues? Y'all, this is our 12th Christmas in this facility here on I-10 in Gulfport, and we couldn't be more thrilled. So I want to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all of South Mississippi and remind you that Toyotathon is a great time to buy. We've got more inventory than we've had almost all year long, and we've got a lot coming. So come check us out. Merry Christmas, y'all.
Get the scoop on what happened in college football and what to expect in the NFL. Each Sunday on Sports Sunday with Michael Borky. Get the story behind the stats, 8 to 10 a.m. on Super Talk Mississippi, supertalk.fm, and watch the show on supertalk.tv. Super Talk Mississippi. We're more than just words. This is where the story of your state is told. Proud to cover the Magnolia State like nobody else. Super Talk Mississippi.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking very hard-to-find PPE items to make our community a safer place. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. They were even sending thousands of dollars of PPE supplies free to local schools in need with help from other local business leaders. The next time your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider a local company that supports your ball teams, cheerleaders, and area homeless. Consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply, the local guys that keep your prices fair, your service and selection excellent, and your health our business. Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. Talking
Yeah.
to Paul Thorne, Mississippi true treasure, really incredible recording artist, singer, songwriter. Has been doing it a long time, doing it the right way.
It's almost like a Forrest Gump thing because, I was a boxer, / I worked in a furniture factory, / I had a gig 2 nights a week playing my acoustic guitar in a pizza restaurant, / I was in the National Guard. And,
Wow.
All this stuff was going on at the same time. / I had a writing contract with Rick Hall and Fame.
In a Mississippi Minute.
Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show. Every day, we're driving the debate in America with the fastest moving, hardest hitting, most comprehensive, fact-based commentary on the radio. We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth. Our show is a meeting place of ideas. We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Weeknights at 9
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show
on Super Talk Mississippi. Super Talk Mississippi.
Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on Super Talk Mississippi.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back. Now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I go again.
Check us out. The new Bob 106.3.
And now, it's Coast View with Ricky Matthews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota and AGJ Systems and Networks on Super Talk 103.1 FM.
Welcome back to Coast View. I have Lee Bond, the Chief Executive Officer for Singing River Health Systems, and we're just talking about a wide array of issues. Right now, though, we're on the nursing shortage, and so Lee, you and I have talked about this before, but I want to say it from my perspective, and then you can add to it, and you can tell me if you think I'm close to this. When I was in Alabama, I spent a lot of time. We editorialized, and I should point out, I'm conservative. I'm a conservative. That's where I stand. I would say I'm a moderate Republican. I do think there's a role for government on some social issues. I'm very conservative when it comes to business issues, and I tend to be just fiscally conservative. That's where I stand as a person. When I was in Alabama, we wrote a lot of editorials about Medicaid expansion, though, because we saw that the future was going to be in a situation where some states were accepting that, some states were not. Those states that accepted it this is long before the pandemic, those states that didn't, from a medical point of view, we're going to be at a competitive disadvantage. And we used to try to put that in hundreds of millions of dollars of perspective. Then I go to Louisiana as the publisher of Times-Picayune and NOLA.com, and I spent a couple of hours, actually more than a couple of hours, one-on-one at the mansion with Bobby Jindal talking about this subject. And of course, Bobby Jindal, the former governor of the state of Louisiana, is a medical policy expert. That's where he comes from. But his position on it was we can't do Medicaid expansion because he doesn't want to borrow any more money from China. That's how high level he looked at it. He couldn't get past the populist message around where Republicans had positioned Medicaid expansion. Then what happened is you began to see more Republicans start to accept it and say, "Oh, wait a minute, what is going on in America?" Some of the really conservative governors were beginning to say, "Wait a minute, we've got to do this. We've got to do this because we don't want to put ourselves at a competitive disadvantage." Then Bobby Jindal leaves. John Bell Edwards comes in as the governor. We had multiple conversations with him before he became governor, and then after he was governor, we continued these conversations. The very first thing he did, I know he's a Democratic governor, but he's also a moderate. He's a significant moderate, I might add. First thing he did was expand Medicaid, and immediately the state of Louisiana started to realize the benefits from that. Now let's come over to Mississippi. In Mississippi, we've not expanded it. There's been a populist message around it. I get it. There's arguments on both sides of this, but take the politics out of it for a minute. Just take them out and just look at just the medical arena, the industry of medicine, and let's look at how healthcare is being provided in the state of Mississippi. And now that you have the partnership with Auctioner, you have this great opportunity to look over into Louisiana to see, okay, what's the benefit of Medicaid expansion meant for them, and what's the disadvantage of not expanding it in Mississippi? You're in a great position to see that, aren't you?
Yeah, I see it every day. It's huge. They see it very clearly, the disadvantage we're at. It goes back to what I said earlier, and it's not a Democrat thing or a Republican thing. I tell people it's an RN thing. Because what I said earlier about where we as a state are not doing enough to retain RNs, and the state has the money and the ability to do that. And if we want to keep the 1.8 billion and spend it on water and sewer or whatever else, they're going to try to figure out a way to spend it. At least look at the competitive disadvantage Mississippi is at by not taking that Medicaid money. Everybody who has a W-2, some of their federal withholdings are going to states outside of Mississippi. You can't argue with that. And I would absolutely say there's wrong on both sides of this argument all day long. You got people on one side saying, oh, it's free. It's not free. It's going to cost the state $200 million. But there's $1 billion that comes with it. So the ROI is high, and it's about competitive advantage. That is money that can be used specifically to help not-for-profits like us that are barely breaking even. We could use every penny of that to give more money to RNs and RTs and techs and all of those people working on the front line. But yet, because of you're a Republican or a Democrat, you can't vote for it. It's a sad state of affairs, and competitive disadvantage is absolutely what I am putting forth is the reason to do it. It has nothing to do with your political affiliation. I am against welfare programs and increasing taxes, but I believe in winning, and Mississippi is not winning.
Well, we spent a lot of time in Mississippi.
I shouldn't say it. We're struggling, and we're going to struggle in the future. I'll say it that way.
I get it. But when you say competitive disadvantage, you're saying that nurses are having to make personal decisions about where I'm going to want to be employed. And too many are going to those states that have expanded Medicaid and have gone out of their way to make sure that retention is a high on the list item. And you're deeply concerned, and you're not the only one. I mean, this is an issue across the state, whether you live in rural hospitals or whether you go to rural hospitals or some of the most dense populated areas of the state. It doesn't matter. Yep. This is a big issue, and the healthcare profession is aligned around it, and we've got to focus on it. One other thing I want to say just about that, Lee, is that we spent so much time before the pandemic conditioning people to be anti-Medicaid expansion that we should, it's almost like we spent so much energy on that we cannot now come back and say, okay, the pandemic has changed everything. We got to rethink this and do it in a way that's a political win. The Republican governors that have done it across this nation have done it in a way that's a political win for them. Yeah. And I wish Mississippi could find the win for itself in this game. Any final word on that before we shift gears?
No, I think it's just a matter of time before, it's going to be very bad if we're the last state to not expand. It's going to look, there's only, 12 left and others looking at it. So again, it's about competitive advantage, and it's about getting money to those frontline people. Hospitals don't need it. The frontline people need it.
There's no doubt about it. So let's come back to Omicron. I had a visit with Dr. Nicholas Conger, who's the infectious disease doctor from Memorial. And he's always taken such a practical view toward this one. And obviously, what he said is sort of bearing out now, which is incredibly 4 times more contagious than the original COVID, 2 times more more contagious than the Delta variant. And that it was quickly sort of be the dominant strain in America, that's what's happening pretty rapidly. He also talked about that the natural progression of of a virus like coronavirus is to do essentially this, to have a Delta variant and then have a more contagious, less deadly, one that people don't get as sick on, Omicron. And so that's what's come out of South America, South Africa, and we're seeing this across other countries as well. Your experience with that has been pretty much the same as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, the media is making it out like it's some new big surprise, and it's just honestly, I think the media is overreacting a little bit in that it's expected. It's viral evolution. It's if you look at any science or whatever, it's expected, and it's we'll see. I mean, time will tell. But right now, it appears to be a lot less deadly. In addition, with the percentage of people that are vaccinated that are avoiding it, puts us in a better position. And frankly, I wish the media and the government would spend more time focused on, educating people instead of pontificating about what's going to how Omicron, is just so deadly and so bad. And so, that's not the right focus, in my opinion. I think that we need to worry about the labor shortage, about inflation, get back to educating people about common sense things like washing your hands. Nobody's talking about that. You hear everybody on the TV talking about get vaccinated. Well, you know what else you can do? You can wash your hands, and people do not do that. They also do not isolate when they're ill. They go out in public, cough all over everybody. They close talk and they touch their face with their hands. What about those things? Again, people need to be re-educated about those common sense, simple things. And I wish that the media and the government would focus on those a little more than trying to sensationalize what's happening with Omicron.
Yeah, there's no question about it. As you know, I'm a former media guy, so I'm quite a critic of what I see on the national stage. That what's happened is it's very clear what's happened. They've gotten Omicron and Delta sort of in the same mix, and so what's happening at the same time Omicron's coming to America, you're seeing sort of a peak of Delta in these hospitals. And so when they talk about Omicron, they're talking about it with sort of the impact of Delta, and that's actually not the right way to position it. And so, they talk about the pandemic as one thing instead of the nuance underneath it, as if, the world's going to come to an end if we don't get our arms around this and everyone be scared. It's a really unfortunate thing. I really do think getting vaccinated is a smart thing to do for sure. Everyone I know and love has gotten vaccinated. I get the issue of personal choice, and people will live with their consequences. But at the end of the day, that die has kind of been cast by now, and
it does.
It's going to run its course, and we've got to accept where it's going to go and quit scaring the hell out of people.
Exactly. Even if you're vaccinated, you still should do those normal things like wash your hands and don't be a close talker and don't cough all everybody and isolate when you're ill. People aren't doing that, but we'll get through it. I think the bigger concern again is the RN shortage, the labor shortage, and inflation, and I put Omicron before.
When we come back, we're going to continue the conversation, the final segment of Coast View here on the second day of at least the second weekday of the new year for Coast View. We'll be back with Lee Bond after this break.
Listen live or on demand and watch episodes of Coast View on your laptop, desktop, or on your phone or tablet by going to SuperTalkMSGulfCoast.com.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
Merry Christmas, South Mississippi. It is Toyotathon time here at J. Allen Toyota, I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport. You see this halo right up here? It says the tradition continues. Y'all, this is our 12th Christmas in this facility here on I-10 in Gulfport, and we couldn't be more thrilled. So I want to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all of South Mississippi and remind you that Toyotathon is a great time to buy. We've got more inventory than we've had almost all year long, and we've got a lot coming. So come check us out. Merry Christmas, y'all.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk Mississippi. Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth. When you want the truth. Simply because it might hurt some feelings. And nothing but the truth. Lose some subscribers. You want the Gallo Radio Show. I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead. The Gallo Radio Show. And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself. Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. We're talking to Dale Berra. Take me back to growing up and what it was like in the household with a dad like Yogi Berra.
You know, we grew up with his funny sayings. You know, I remember Dad managing the Mets, and me, Larry, and Timmy are watching the game on TV. And all of a sudden, two streakers run out of the stands on TV, and the camera flips away from them. So when he gets home, me, Larry, and Timmy say, "Hey, Dad, those streakers, what were they, boys or girls? We need to know." And Dad looked us right in the eye and said, "I couldn't tell. They had bags over their heads."
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
When it comes to the outdoors, we are one. We live in one of the best places in America to enjoy the great outdoors. So let's talk about it. Super Talk Outdoors with Ricky Matthews, Mondays starting at noon, here on Super Talk Mississippi. Presented by the Foundation Protecting Our Outdoors Heritage. Listen or watch the show anywhere you get Super Talk Mississippi. Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on Super Talk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. I really enjoy these opportunities to touch base with leaders like Lee Bond, who's working so hard to bring a focus on issues that are critical to this state, critical to you. You better pay attention to this conversation and share it with friends, because this is our leaders have so many things they're focused on, so many competing objectives. So at the end of the day, it's hard to like single out this one. You know, I need to go focus more on this one. I need to think about that $400 million for these nursing retention bonuses, because if we don't do it, such and such. It's hard for them to think like that, because, you know, they're in some respects, I hate it, but they sometimes get to the point of checking boxes and addressing things, but not addressing them as fully and as strategically as we need to. And that's why these conversations are important. In this particular case, I'm not kidding when I say this is life and death. For sure, this is life and death. I mean, if we were to have a sustained nursing shortage and we couldn't fill spots as we continue to lose additional nurses, we would be in a world of hurt in this state. We better stay focused on it. Anyway, Lee, coming back to you, I want to, okay, we talked about Omicron, but what's the current situation related to either Delta or Omicron at Singing River Health System?
So we're in decent shape right now. We've been averaging each day at each hospital 2 to 4 patients that have Delta primarily. So any given day, we probably have 8 or 9. We did hit, each hospital has had one day where they had 0 over the last week, and that's always a good day at that particular facility for sure. But we know that probably our next year, there's always going to be 1 or 2 probably. And hopefully we don't get back to those big stages. I am certainly concerned about if we get to that point. I know there's been a lot of talk about, bringing in federal resources again. I wish we could find a way to avoid that, because that creates a lot of other ills, for the nation and the state. But overall, at the moment, we're okay. We're very, we're making it. We're handling it. I'm so proud of our fearless frontline warriors, because they're short. I mean, we don't have the luxury we used to have of having, where everybody could take off extra day here or there, and people are working in some cases a lot of overtime and extra shifts, but they're doing what it takes, and they're Singing River strong. And I'm just beyond thankful for our community, for the people that have making that sacrifice for other people.
Hey, Leo, a few months ago, Dr. Conger, again, the infectious disease doctor from Memorial, one of the things that he mentioned to me was that he had a patient that he had been seeing over a long period of time that had an infection on his foot. And it required regular treatment. You know how sometimes it's very difficult to get to the bottom of something like that. It takes a while, and in some cases, they're not able to solve it. But in this particular case that he mentioned to me, the man delayed his treatment because he was concerned that if he came to the hospital, he would get COVID, and it led to an amputation. And so what I want to ask you about now is, to what extent do other types of illnesses, whether it be cancer or heart disease or cases like what I just mentioned, where there may be some other condition that needs treatment, how concerned are you that people are putting those things off?
Very concerned. We're seeing a lot of that, Ricky. We're seeing people, everything from heart conditions to even strokes and cancer, of people that have let themselves, unfortunately, delay routine doctor visits and maintenance. And we're preaching to the world, not just come to Singing River, go wherever you can go, but get your screenings, go to the doctor for a tune-up, go to get a primary care visit, to get a checkup, see how you're doing. If you've got some heart issues, go see a cardiologist. Don't put off, if you got some digestive issues, see a primary care or a GI doc. Don't put those things off, because usually the longer you wait, the worse off you are in most of those cases. Many cancers nowadays can be fully curable if you catch it early enough. So don't put off that mammogram, that GI, because of COVID. Don't let that be an excuse, because I'm seeing some sad cases where if somebody had found something a year ago and they specifically delayed it because of COVID ongoings. But really preaching that, get your screenings, and healthcare is self-care, is what we call it. And an ounce of prevention can be worth a pound of cure, no doubt.
One of the smartest things I did early on was to get a good relationship with an internist, and he's done a great job of caring for me and my family. But we do the annual physical and screenings, do all the things you're supposed to do for whatever that. Okay, at this point, what are you supposed to do? Kind of like tuning up my truck. When I bring my truck in to get it worked on, I'll say, okay, tune it up, but let me know if there's anything else that needs to be done, because I don't want to be caught between here and the Delta.
If you got 50,000 miles, get a colonoscopy, because that is a cancer that can be treated, and if you catch it early enough. But if you wait till you've got 52 or 54,000 on you, it's gonna be a lot harder.
Could be a really, really serious thing. So listen, man, as you enter the new year, continue to do the work that you've been doing. Good luck to you in this legislative session. I hope the kind of bill that we're talking about comes out of the session. I'm not hopeful that it's going to happen, but I'm going to continue to talk about it, and hopefully we can get attention of our Coast legislative delegation, and they can say, guys, I know we got other priorities, but this is a matter of life and death. We've really got to solve this. Anyway, good luck to you, my friend.
Thank you. I'm an eternal optimist, and I'm in my mind, the right thing's going to happen, because it should, and we are hyper focused on it. I'm sure that some of the legislators are tired of hearing from me on it, but I'm going to fight to the death for what is right for these frontline warriors that have given so much of their life the past 2 years, and we're going to do whatever it takes to get that across the finish line. So I have a little hope that it's going to happen.
I hope so too. I'm going to continue to talk about it. This has been Lee Bond, the CEO of Singing River Health Systems. Happy New Year to you, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook. Facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1.